Robin, if you're talking to us, you're not mute. You're muted.
Welcome everybody to Rochester District Council's remote meeting of the Extraordinary Council on the 8th of September 2020, and welcome also to anybody watching this via the live stream. I will now take item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. We have received apologies in the office from councillors Mrs Hoy, Mr Hoy, George Ionu, Mike Wilkinson and Councillor Burton. Are there any others, members?
Chairman, Mike Lucas Gill was having terrible problems getting with his broadband, so he keep trying throughout the evening, but other than that, he gives his apologies.
Thank you. Okay, I shall now take agenda item 2 to receive declarations of interest. Members, are there any declarations of interest?
That's quick now.
Councillor Arthur Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not sure whether I need to interest on the fact that I'm a member of Rochester Parish Council and some of the assets are in the Rochester Parish Council ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. That will be Councillor Williams. That will be noted. Councillor Lumley.
Thank you, Chairman. I believe I should declare an interest.
You're muted, Councillor Lumley.
Apologies. I need to declare an interest as one of the trustees of one of the partner organisations involved in tonight's asset programme.
Thank you, Councillor Lumley. Any others?
Councillor McPherson.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. Non-pecuniary, I'm Vice Chairman of Rochester Parish Council, and again, some of the assets are within our parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Sperling. Councillor Sperling.
On the basis that members of Rochester Parish Council, I'm a member of Rayleigh Town Council, and assets involved in this evening's meeting are within the Rayleigh district.
Chairman, if I may.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. For the same reason that has been said, I'm a member of Rayleigh Town Council, and because it is within our area, I better declare an interest as a town councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. By virtue of being a town councillor, thank you.
Councillor Milne.
Yes, it's the same reason I'm a Rayleigh Town Councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Lumley again.
Thank you, Chairman. I also need to declare that interest as a member of Rayleigh Town Council as current Chairman.
I shall also declare an interest as a member for Rayleigh Town Council. Councillor Newport.
Oh, me too, Robin.
Sorry, Carol, did you speak?
Councillor Newport.
Yeah, sorry, I can't get my hand up on my system. I'm the same as the rest of Rayleigh Town Council.
I will note that, Councillor Pavlin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, Chairman, if I may, I'm aware that members are declaring this interest, but in this instance here in this report, there is no need to declare interest. It's really to do with the legal documents, not anything to do with the development of the actual operational side of things.
Okay.
So, but we are aware, we have noted those. Thank you.
Okay, did everybody hear that?
No, didn't hear it.
I did.
Yeah. There was no need to declare interests as members of other councils, but that's all been done now. But just remember that for future. Thank you, members. Members, I shall now take item 3 on the agenda, the Asset Delivery Programme Contract Award. Members, we have a number of external partners attending the meeting who will assist in presenting relevant information to the meeting and in answering questions, namely Mr. Duncan Blackie of DCB Property, Kurt Hardy of Gleeds, Sandy Monroe and Richard Brooks, both of Anthony Collins Solicitors, and Andrew Rowson, East of England LGA. You're very welcome. And also Councillors Wootton as the previous portfolio holder for Enterprise, and then Councillor Steptoe as chairman of the Investment Board, and members of the Asset Development Programme Working Group will also assist in presenting the report to this meeting. Councillor Simon Wootton, leader of the council, will now introduce the report. Councillor Wootton.
Chairman, good evening and thank you. As leader and with portfolio holder responsibility for this project, I am delighted to introduce this report to this extraordinary meeting of council, specifically convened to deal with the Asset Delivery Programme. Rochford District Council is pursuing an ambitious asset strategy with the following objectives: to reduce ongoing future costs, which will only increase and must therefore be in the interest of council taxpayers, to regenerate the local area and provide facilities for local residents and businesses across the whole of the Rochford district, and to provide fit-for-purpose office accommodation for council staff and key partners in order to drive efficiencies through a digital-first way of working. The project last came before members on the 19th of May, when council resolved to appoint GB Partnerships as the council's preferred bidder, following a comprehensive procurement process. During the debate that evening, members raised a number of very important points which needed to be taken into account as the council moved to the next stage of the process, which was to negotiate contracts. Tonight, we are learning how negotiations have been progressed for a resolution. Chairman, this project is member-led. Members have been involved in it from day one. And with your permission, Chairman, a number of them wish to speak to this council to talk about their involvement before we get down into the detail. And Chairman, there is a lot of detail, the vast majority of which is contained within the confidential appendices to this report. To avoid any difficulties, I would ask, please, Chairman, that any questions be deferred until the confidential part of this meeting so that topics can be discussed freely. As this project originates from the Investment Board, with your permission, Chairman, I would like to call upon Councillor Mike Steptoe, as Chair of the Investment Board, to remind members of where we began this journey. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Permission granted. Councillor Steptoe.
Thank you, Chairman. The idea of the use of the Freight House for potential council chamber goes back many years. It was actually first raised as an item at one of our budget away days by somebody that is now, sadly, is no longer a councillor. Once I became portfolio holder for Enterprise, we started to look into the possibility of looking at what our assets and what we could do with our assets. And as chairman of the Investment Board, I've been pleased to oversee the development of the council's asset strategy and the project which has emerged from that strategy. The Investment Board has seen this project evolve from early strategic case to more detailed online business case, and then to the final business case, which the Investment Board recommended to the council on the 19th of May. The project has been through a comprehensive process and has also been new and sometimes confusing process, as we've never been involved in competitive dialogue procurement before. I would suggest a very steep learning curve. The procurement progress was reported to the investment board, and we went through various stages, and the member working group, comprised of the investment board members and myself as chair, have worked closely with the officers and external professional advisors throughout. Members will recall that one of the priorities of our business plan is to maximise our assets. And when the investment board was created, its terms of reference included the words to ensure the best use is made of our sites and property. That opportunity for co-location has come, income generating activities are explored, maximising both economic, social value of the district. This project will invest to improve heritage sites, invest in community facilities in 2 of the district's town centres. It will avoid the council taking on very high revenue costs, which would otherwise significantly impact on already stretched budgets. It is an investment to save, a programme where doing nothing is simply not an option. Chairman, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my thanks to the member working group for all of its hard work over the last few years. I'm sure you will agree, I'm sure they would agree, it's been an interesting experience. I would also like to thank the officers and the outside advisors, who some of them are with us tonight, who worked with the member working group in dealing with all the challenging questions and issues that were raised. With your permission, Chairman, I would like to call on Councillor Sperring on behalf of the member working group to advise members of the work they had undertaken. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Steptoe. Permission granted. Councillor Sperring.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Steptoe. Good evening, members and visitors. When I first became involved with this project as part of the member working group, I was unsure as to what the project was trying to achieve and was worried about doing anything with the council's buildings, and I was definitely very concerned about moving the council's offices and chamber. I know I wasn't the only one that had these views. I was, however, open-minded and wanted to understand what benefits this project could bring, not only to the council, but also to residents and the district as a whole. I soon realised that the Freight House and the Art, Mills and Event Centre are tired, and although they are both well-loved and important community facilities, they are products of their time and needed to be updated, and certainly are not used to their full potential. To keep these sites operational to undertake the work necessary to bring them up to a more modern standard would have put a huge financial strain on the council's budget, and that is just to keep them running as they are, when we know they are really underutilised, and thus this is not a good use of public money. The council offices and chamber in Rayleigh are in similar need of huge financial investment, and these spaces do not reflect modern environmental working areas for officers or members, and definitely not for residents. For example, the public reception area in South Street is a porter cabin and has been there for well over 10 years. As this project progressed, I became convinced that it was right that the council should invest in the facilities that the council and our residents needed, and not just keep ploughing money into what we have. However, we needed to find the most cost-effective way of doing this. This project allows us to realise funds from our old buildings and to cross-fund new buildings, albeit with some topping up, to get a great investment, not only for the district, but is also a legacy for our future. The process to get to this point, like Councillor Steptoe said, was new to us. It was a steep learning curve, with members of the working group working closely with officers and advisors over a very long period. Throughout this period, we have been able to ask questions, challenge, and think about what was needed from this project to achieve the best possible outcome for both residents and the council. Additionally, we have reviewed the comments made by members during the meeting of the 19th of May and did our utmost to ensure concerns and their views were addressed in full. I want to assure members and residents all along that with our partners throughout the work, we have come without the best ways of achieving the best possible outcome. It isn't just about saving money, it's also about investing in our future for our district and our residents. Over the last couple of meetings, we have been presented with a number of very lengthy and involved legal contracts. Although we read them in full, Representative Anthony Collins offered us support and talked us through the contracts and clarified a number of points which we raised. After this, we asked numerous questions that were generated by these contracts, ranging from the risks involved in relation to this project and how we could minimise exposure to the council, the effects of COVID and the new council working practices, movement in land values both up and down, the financial standing of our partners, environmental standards, the adequacy of our new community facilities, not to mention the impact on the district as a whole. As far as I'm aware, the working group has now completed the task for which it was set up. And we have worked closely with not only officers, but our partners Gleeds and Anthony Collins, who both met and exceeded the council's due diligence review, and both have proven track records of being able to progress and fulfill similar projects to which we are undertaking. And I believe there comes a point where we as clients of these partners must trust in their extensive professional abilities to produce the best possible outcome on our behalf. For these reasons, we fully support the proposal bringing this proposed item to full council this evening. With your permission, Chairman, finally, throughout this project, the members' working group has been supported by the East of England Local Government Association through a critical friend role undertaken by Mr. Andrew Rowson. So with your permission, Chairman, I would ask Andrew to talk to members about his role.
Thank you, Councillor Sperring. Permission granted. I will now invite Mr. Andrew Rowson, East of England LGA, to continue with the presentation. Mr. Rowson.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Sperring, and thank you for this opportunity to say a few words to the council meeting. Yes, I'm Andrew from the East of England Local Government Association, as Councillor Sperring has said, and I've been working with the council and supporting the council on this programme since very early in 2019. My role is to be what we would call a critical friend to the council, that is both to members and to officers, and to challenge where necessary to ensure that best practice is followed and that the council achieves its objectives. I'd like to make 3 key points. First, I've seen firsthand that the council has conducted a very thorough and robust procurement, and your officers and their expert advisors have operated in a very professional manner throughout, which I think is evidenced by the quality of all the reports and papers that have been brought before you, both today and previously. Secondly, I think the council can be reassured that the procurement approach has been very well scrutinised by members through the member working group process. I've had the benefit of attending most of the MWG meetings. So again, I've seen firsthand how members have been very open and have asked searching questions and challenged officers when necessary. Indeed, I very soon learned that the members here didn't need much prompting from me. Thirdly, and finally, I think it's been really noteworthy and noticeable that it's been an all council team effort. Yes, members have done their job and been very challenging on occasion where necessary, but at the same time, they have provided the all-important political steer and leadership on sensitive issues, such as car parking. And they have also supported and encouraged the officer team during what has been a really long and arduous process, as mentioned, made even more difficult by COVID-19 over the last few months. So I think tonight you are seeing the benefit and result of this team effort. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I wanted to say by way of comments. It may be that other members from MWG would want to say something at this point, but otherwise back to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowson. Are there any other members of the working group who wish to speak? No one is indicating. Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I would like to thank everybody that's been involved. It's been, I can't believe it's been a couple of years since we started this. It's been very interesting. So just thank you very much for everybody that's been involved, and I look forward to and would certainly recommend the recommendations in this meeting this evening. Thank you all. You're muted, Chairman, sorry.
Thank you. Does anybody other members of the working group wish to speak? No? Thank you. I will now open up the meeting, the public meeting, to other members to debate. And does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Eaves.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just make a point, please, on one of the things that I know a number of members have actually struggled with. We've had a massive document put before us to actually do our due diligence over, and we've been given 5 days to do that. It's accentuated by the fact that Sonia has actually highlighted a particular place for us to read. The point I'm making on that one is that really to present us with such a huge document, such an important document, to be able to do due diligence in 5 days is in my view, unacceptable. However, that aside, I'd like to say the following. I have taken a different approach to the asset delivery programme to that of some in the minority groups, in that I do understand the benefit of the project to some degree, but as the only council member who has qualifications and experience in the industry at this level, I have had a number of concerns. My comments are based around the freight house, but as the project is set up as one, the implications of what I have to say affect the whole project. At the outset of the project, members were presented with a report that made it very clear that the project would be much cheaper if we proceeded with the project in-house. This was decided it was not an option, as the council did not have the skills. Despite my protestations at the time and assertion that we could bring the skills in-house to save the council money, the project was pushed ahead on the basis of a partnership, the majority share of any profit made being afforded to the developer. Lately, as a council, we have experienced unexpected financial pressures as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had to use reserve funds to facilitate the needs. When I spoke to Naomi earlier today, she repeated what we've been told before, that she will not be in a position to know the full impact of the last few months on our finances until the end of the year. This may have an impact on the project funding. We don't know. We are currently being asked to consider the Acela white paper from central government. I know there are members who are concerned about this for a number of good reasons, but when considering the asset delivery programme, the project is based on the needs of this council as it performs now and in the future. But the fact is that there is likely to be a change in our operations if and when the Acela project goes ahead. This has a strong possibility that it will affect our operational needs when it happens. The question then is, will our brand new offices be appropriate at the time? The answer is that we simply don't know. I spoke to one of my customers earlier today. He is a director of a multi-million-pound company. For full disclosure, the company is called BW Limited. They are involved in office building and refurbishment, mainly in London. He is experiencing a situation in the real world where companies are holding back on developments and asking, what does the office of the future look like? The simple fact in the answer is that nobody currently knows. His take on anyone who is carrying out office refurbishment based on current standards at this point in time will find that they are outdated by the time they are finished. For example, how many people you project to work in a certain space? How many toilets will be required, and will hygiene standards change? Facilities within air conditioning, will they have to be updated? Refectory areas and relaxation areas, will they even be appropriate? Are there enough conference areas as more people switch to remote working? All of these facts point to only one sensible route, in my mind, which is to pause the project until the end of the third quarter next year, when the thinking and standards for modern offices going forward will be much clearer. There is a chance too that the SL effect on the council may be clearer by then. Our financial position as a council will also be clearer. I'd like to ask the council how we would feel if after all this time and money, we end up with a white elephant, which is an infinite possibility. We are told at full council and the investment board that we would hold or cancel the project any time before contracts are agreed and signed. This is that point. To proceed further with the project at this point in time would exhibit a total lack of understanding for the reality of the situation in the real world as it currently is. And as such, I would like to propose a motion to pause the project until the end of the third quarter next year to allow for clarity on what the new working environment and model will look like, so we can be sure that the vast sums of public money that we are potentially looking to spend are spent wisely. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Eaves.
Chairman, I'd like to second that motion from Councillor Eaves. Thank you.
Who was that speaking, please?
Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Members, we shall now debate the motion as mentioned by Councillor Eaves and seconded by Councillor Hookway. Would anybody like to speak on that motion, please? Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I think Councillor Eaves has very eloquently covered many areas that we should all be concerned about. Members, we need to ask ourselves a question. Is this decision being taken prematurely? There are many issues which affect Rochford District Council and the community it serves that are as yet unknown or unclear, which should influence this decision. The proposed mergers and creation of super councils, which a politically led administration representing the party in government will be unlikely to prevent, has not been fully considered, and the likelihood of an over-provision of new council offices in Rochford similarly. Let us be honest, there is no material difference between the leader's declared opposition to a merger, as reported in the Echo, and his apparent preparedness to join, in my view. Ask yourselves, members, if the loss of income to Rochford District Council, such as car parking and business rates, or the extra costs for such as homelessness, consultancy costs that so far this year run to £626,000, and the costs of COVID arrangements are yet fully understood or known, and could increase risks to this council. In my view, no realistic figures will be known until the end of the financial year. Ask yourselves, members, if this project has taken into account the accelerated rate of changes to our working from home practices. Of course not. It's much too early for that. I believe that this vanity project is premature and should be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Mason. Does anybody else wish to speak on Councillor Eves' motion? Councillor Connell.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to speak on the report and then link that into Councillor Eves' motion, if that's okay. On page 3.4, item 7, the programme changes. One of the points raised here is the introduction of stop-go points into the contracts, and I believe this is to be applauded. And I believe 7.4 is a great example of prudent mitigation. Linking that through to the final business case review on page 3.4, item 3, the final business case review contains COVID analysis and concludes that the position of the FBC is actually strengthened. Again, the council have shown
Point
good
of order,
prudence.
Chairman. Point of order. Are we discussing an exempt document?
No, this is, thank you, Councillor Ward. This is in relation to the report that's been provided, not the exempt item, the public report.
Chairman,
They're unable to hear you, Chairman.
Councillor Wood, Councillor Connell was referring to the report that's been presented. I shall allow him to continue, but asked him to quickly to make his point, if he would. Can I ask all members also to take great care not to refer to any exempt information? Councillor Connell to continue to speak on Councillor Adrian Eves' motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the reason I mentioned that is I had questions around whether similar impacts of the government's upcoming white paper had been considered, and if we could, in the absence of voting against a deferment with a specific date, if we could consider a similar stop-go approach or a review window to assess the viability of a new chamber once the future of the local government structure is understood. And also if we could update the risk log mentioned in item 10 to reflect the upcoming white paper. There are my two questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Connell. Does anybody else wish to speak on Councillor Eves' motion, please? Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that opportunity, and I note the points that Councillor Eves makes. I think, if I understood him correctly, he was referring to a seller in the same breath as the government white paper. And I think we need to make it quite clear that a seller is all about a growth bid that has been submitted to central government. It is not about local government reform, which I believe is the white paper that is due to come out, we're told, sometime in October. I note the points that Councillor Eves and others have made about London development, and indeed that is an issue, but I think we need to get into some perspective what we're actually talking about in this programme. We are talking about rationalising our office space and actually decreasing the size of our office space to modern, purpose-built, fit-for-purpose buildings. And those buildings will be, or that building.
Mr. Chairman, we're speaking to deferment.
I'm unable to hear you, Chairman.
Robin. My apologies, members. Councillor Mrs Mason, I take your point, but I shall allow Councillor Wootton to continue. Thank you, Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. And the point that I'm making is in relation to the reasons why I do not believe that we should be deferring. The whole point of this project is actually to quickly get on with a project to streamline our offices, make them fit for purpose. And who could decry creating a new purpose-built community centre in Rayleigh? there will be an indefinite reason and use for the public to have these premises. So whilst there will always be reasons to defer, I actually think that what we're doing is considerably ahead of what other authorities are looking at. And I actually applaud this initiative. And actually, the current pandemic has become an even more justifiable reason not to defer and to get on with this project. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman.
Wootton, Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. Just in support of Councillor Eaves' motion to defer, I will just reference what Councillor Wootton just said about decreeing the new community asset in Rayleigh. Well, unfortunately, our residents haven't had a say in that matter, as there's been no public consultation. So they haven't had an opportunity to voice their views on this. They have had an opportunity to voice their views on this to their ward councillors. And I've had many residents contact me about their concerns. And unfortunately, I've not been in a position to reassure them, as most of this project has been in private and confidential. The world has significantly changed in the last 6 months, and the council appears to be determined to plough on, despite that officers have been working remotely and the entire workforce. So numerous residents have asked me who will be using the new offices. I personally think it would be reckless of the council to proceed at this stage with the project, knowing that within the not too distant future could be in a position that a combined authority could be a likely outcome. And as Councillor Eaves said, do these new offices become a white elephant? I would urge the members to think carefully about stripping the public of community facilities and instead take this moment to pause for thought. Will the uncertainty of our future public finances and the changes that we are facing with this, is it really the time to be committing to such a large scale project? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just really to echo the points made by Councillor Eaves, Councillor Newport and Councillor Mrs Mason. In the past, I asked the Managing Director whether there was any degradation of service due to staff working at home during the coronavirus pandemic, and it appears not. So if that is the case, I don't understand why we now want to go full tilt to develop offices which we haven't actually needed over the last 6 months. And I would fully support the deferral. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have a prepared script as some of the previous members have. I've been listening, to the debate. I have to say that deferring this would be a huge mistake. I believe a lot of work has gone into ensuring that we've actually got a project that is fit for the future. I believe it will be a great service to our residents. With regard to working from home and various other things that are happening in London and around, I believe a lot of office space will become redundant. That is true. But we are actually reducing our office space. We are actually saving a huge amount of money on those properties, those assets we have. And I think that Councillor David Sperring made that very point very strongly. We are paying a lot of money.
We're meant to be speaking to. The second time, Mr. Chairman, that the subject has gone on to proposal and not deferment.
Please, I am speaking for against the deferment, if you wouldn't mind, Councillor Mason.
Councillor Mrs Mason, I shall allow Councillor Ward to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm speaking against deferment because I believe we keep the premises open. They are not fit for purpose. We are way ahead of the game of every other council in actually recognising that we need to scale down and we need to improve our assets. As with the mill is a very old asset, not fit for purpose, and we'll have a state-of-the-art new facility there. The same as we will have new facilities for our offices when we leave South Street. So I'm sorry, I cannot support deferment in any way, shape or form. I think that the assessments that Mrs Mason, Councillor Mrs Mason...
Point of order, Chairman. I'm sorry, I can't hear Councillor Ward. His audio keeps breaking up.
I can hear him okay, Councillor Newport. I'm sure everybody else...
It must be, I'm sorry, Councillor Newport, it must be your own Wi-Fi. What I'd like to say is I totally disagree with Mrs Mason's assessment of the situation, and I think that I cannot possibly support deferment at all. Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Mrs Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one point against deferment. Whilst I agree working from home is possible and is an option, is it in all of the staff's best interest to have that as a permanent option or a permanent solution? Probably not. Mental health and well-being is important, and fit for purpose office spaces that will allow people to work from home and in the office as they see fit is surely much better across the board.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, we don't possess a crystal ball to see how the future is going to arrive to us. We already know that several premises in Rayleigh are now going to close down, and we know that our income will be less than what it is at the moment, and we may have to spend a little bit more money out of our reserves to continue. If this continues, as we see from the premises in Rayleigh, and also the flight from the airport, the firm is now no longer there, or will not be any longer there, the amount of money coming in will be drastically reduced. I do think that as people are working from home, we have saved an awful lot of money on our premises. No electricity is being used, or hardly any, no heating. It's wonderful news. And those that have to have paperwork, they go out and buy their paper and they put it in their printing machines and so on and so on, unless we've supplied them with printers and such like, which I dare say we have in the way of computers. But nevertheless, we are still saving an awful lot of money. Now, when it comes to spending money like this, we've had those in the past where we've spent an awful lot of money, over $500,000 on one contract alone, and it never got through. Nothing's been done at all. And you know what I mean, it's at South Street. There are other projects in the past that have cost the council.
Point of order, Chairman. Can we please speak on the...
No, just a moment. Just a moment.
Sorry,
We've had others
totally off
and I'm speaking on deferment. I am speaking on deferment.
Can you make your point quickly, just distinctly then, Councillor Stanley?
Thank you. I'm speaking on deferment in the fact that I do think we ought to sit back for a while, cool down, have a look at what we're doing. We are actually selling off the assets to this council, and there's a lot of money there. And the assets don't belong to the council; they belong to the public. The public have paid for it, and we need to sit back and just take a little bit of a breather to question what we're doing and whether we should continue in this light where I can't see into a crystal ball to see what the future is going to be like. At the moment, we are dealing with COVID. We are dealing with a lot of factors, and a lot of businesses, EasyJet's going down the wall. A lot of businesses.
I think your point.
I would agree with Councillor Eaves to defer for a short period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chairman. There's a number of good reasons why I decided to second Councillor Eaves' motion, and a number of councillors have raised the reasoning in a number of their arguments. I do agree with Councillor Ward in respect that a lot of work has gone into this project. A lot of assessment has taken place about this project. However, we are in a different situation now than what a number of those assessments and conclusions have taken place in the past as we've gone through the process. Bearing in mind that this is a major project for the council, involves, as Councillor Stanley said, assets which are basically public assets. We need to be very careful in how we use those assets, because if they're not used appropriately, or we could lose that, and we would be answerable to our public about the reasoning why we've gone down this route. It is appropriate just to pause and to reflect on this situation. Even Councillor Belton's opinion and view about homework and how this affects our staff is a good point raised, but we don't know the impact of a lot of these things at this moment in time, and it's another point to say surely we need to just pause and reflect on this and perhaps see where we will be in a few months' time. So that's one of the reasons why I support Councillor Eaves' motion, and I think that councillors should reflect on this and consider the enormity of what's being asked of us this evening in relation to this, and as to whether we should think about this a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. Deferring achieves nothing, Chairman. And going on to staff, actually, there are many staff that I speak to that actually can't wait to get back into the office because they're fed up from working from home. We're also all members. We may have councillor in front of our names, but we're all members of the public. And I, for one, don't want to keep pumping money into buildings that are not fit for purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd like to speak against deferment as well. Just two points to me, if I may, on that. I think the concerns that Councillor Belton raised, I agree with that. I think staff, in terms of their mental health, will be much better going back to the offices when they can, and certainly that environment would be good for them. But also in terms of the ongoing redevelopment of Rochford as well, it would be good to see the freight house back in use again, and that's only going to happen now when we're able to redevelop that site. So certainly from a community perspective, I'd be very keen to see the freight house redeveloped as soon as possible. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Councillor Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. I can't agree to deferment. As it's already been stated by Councillor Belton, it is good to work from home. I've done that in my work life, but I actually think the staff need interaction with each other, and it's essential that the staff do go back into offices. For the interaction and for their mental health. Also, our residents, I've had various residents ring me, speak to me, that they need to see our officers on a one-to-one face basis. I know our offices are starting to open because we've got to remember not all of our residents have Zoom or Teams. They do need to go into offices and speak to people. So sorry, I think this should not be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Shaw. Councillor Efty.
Here we go again, Chairman. Same old argument, deferment. This was brought in first time this came to council. All the opposition said we need to defer this because of COVID. We don't know what's going to happen. But we are where we are. COVID is happening. Hopefully we get over this and people will start coming back to offices and start going back to work. So I cannot support deferment on this. We need to go ahead. We need to make a decision, make a strong decision where we're going. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Efty. Councillor Ward, you've indicated you wish to speak again, but you've already spoken on the motion. I won't allow you to come back on that motion. I can't see anybody else indicating they wish to speak. So, sorry? Sorry, Councillor Milne, you've just popped up.
Yes, I think I'm not in favour of deferring this programme at all, because one thing we seem to have lost sight of here is in the due diligence, there was 300,000 a year in losses, the way things are. Even the current mills losing, I think it was 50 to 80,000. So when we start talking about this, and the other thing is, what state would the United Kingdom be in if everyone's just sitting indoors at home? We have to make safe environments, and we're learning how to do that. And there's sort of negative thinking about this. This is an absolutely great value for money program, because when it's all sorted out, the amount of facility we will get, and modern facilities, for the actual net cost has been quite a remarkable job. So I vote against deferment.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gooding. Councillor Gooding.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I couldn't get off of mute. I would have to vote against deferment. These assets are outdated. We need to be able to move forward and modernise what we do offer our residents and our staff, so that we can offer a better facility for everyone and an opportunity for regeneration in the area. And for that reason, I cannot agree with the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gooding. I can see no one else indicating they wish to speak on the motion. Councillor Eaves, could I ask you please to repeat your motion?
Yeah, before I repeat, I'd like to come back on a lot of the points raised, please, if I may, Chair, just briefly.
Very briefly, Eaves.
I think the problem is that a lot of councillors here have not actually heard what I've said. Instead, you've just gone with the party line. What I said is that we need to be looking at pausing, not stopping, pausing. Now, yes, we will, if we carry on now, have much, much better offices than we already have. But the point I was making is that working practices are changing so drastically and so quickly at the moment that if we paused, we would have better offices if we paused, because we would have a chance to actually take in new working practices. I have spoken to professionals in this realm. I doubt whether many other members have actually spoken to members at the level that I've spoken to. Councillor Belton's point about working remotely, etc. There are actually projects on way at the moment which are dealing with that, but are still moving things on. So I would urge you to understand the reason being why I'm asking for a pause is not to stop the project, but to actually make sure that we end up with a better project at the end of the day. So to that end, I would like to propose that we pause, and that's the word I want put in there, we pause the project until the third quarter of next year, to be able to consider how working practices have changed dramatically and the extent that that will change the design of what we are looking for in our new shiny offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eaves. Councillor Hookway, do you still second that motion?
Yes, I thank Councillor Eaves for clarifying his position. I understood his position when he first spoke, and I agree with his explanation now. So I do second it, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Members, I shall put that motion to the vote, and voting will be done by a roll call of names. Please, when I call out your name, indicate if you wish to have a recorded vote, and then whether you are voting for or against the recommendation, or should you wish to abstain. Councillor Mrs. Belson.
And point of order, will we be asked to for an option for recorded vote? You didn't say that.
Yes, I did say that, Councillor Eaves.
Apologies.
Just to reaffirm, you can vote when I call your name. You can vote for a recorded vote, for, against, or abstain for your motion.
Thank you.
Councillor Mrs. Belton.
Thank you. No recorded vote against the motion.
Councillor Mrs. Butcher.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote against the motion.
Councillor Connell.
Recorded vote, Chair, against the motion.
Councillor Mr. Carter.
No recorded, against.
Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. Recorded vote, please, and I'm for the proposal to pause. Thank you.
Myself, no recorded vote against the motion. Councillor Efty.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote and against the motion.
Councillor Eaves.
Recorded vote and for the motion. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mrs. Gooding.
No recorded vote and against the motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelwood.
No recorded vote and against the motion.
Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chairman. Recorded vote and for the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Hudson.
No recorded vote and against the motion.
Councillor Lucas Gill.
He's not here.
He's not with us. Councillor Mrs. Lumley.
No recorded vote and against.
Councillor Mrs. Mason.
For a recorded vote for the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. McPherson.
No recorded vote and against the motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Merrick.
No recorded vote and against.
Councillor Milne.
No recorded vote and against the motion.
Councillor Newport.
For recorded vote and for the motion. And Chairman, can I have my vote recorded in the minutes if we don't have a recorded vote, please?
Thank you. Councillor Pavlin.
No recorded vote and against the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs. Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. No and against.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No recorded vote and against. Thank you.
Councillor Mr. Shaw.
No recorded vote against the motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
No recorded vote against.
Thank you. Councillor Sperring.
No recorded vote against.
Councillor Stanley.
For a recorded vote and for the motion, and could I have my name on the minutes, please? Thank you.
Councillor Steptoe.
No recorded vote against the motion.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. It's no recorded vote and against the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote and against the motion.
Councillor Mrs. Weston.
No recorded vote and against the motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote and against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. For recorded vote and for the motion. And could I have my name in the minutes of my vote? Thank you.
Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote and against the motion.
Members, there will be a recorded vote. 7 members voted for the motion, 25 against, with no abstentions. So the motion has failed. Members, does anybody else wish to speak on item 3 regards to the presentation made previously, bearing in mind that we are in public session?
So you've got Councillor Ward.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I do understand the fact of not coming back before, but you know, I do support this whole asset program that's coming through. There were some very interesting points, I have to say, that were made in the last debate. The one referring to the fact that we don't have a crystal ball. No, we don't. And I think very simply, we would have stayed in caves if we would have been thinking about crystal ball and not ending up in houses and in the situation we are now. We would not have made any progress whatsoever in our civilization, you know, in just thinking we don't have a crystal ball. I think in one of the comments made with regard to reflected and considered, I think we have reflected and considered everything within this program. And I think, you know, the whole concept of us bringing this forward is really essential. It really, really is essential. We have to think for the future. We cannot sit in the past. And again, this is coming back to crystal balls. No, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen per se, but we are doing what we consider to be the best for this council. We are doing what we think is the best for our residents. And, you know, I believe, yes, we have considered it very seriously. And I believe that I am fully supportive of this whole asset programme. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Hawkway.
Thank you, Chairman. I've listened to what Councillor Ward has just said. I think he might be going slightly over the top with some of his analysis, but I just hope that with this project that there's sufficient flexibility in it for it to accommodate any future changes that may happen. And I just also hope that that the money that is going to be spent on it is well spent. So if people and councillors and the partners going forward take into consideration the concerns of a number of councillors and hope that this project is going to be as flexible as possible, then we may have a chance to bring this to a positive at the end of the day. But I for one, still have many concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkway. Councillor FD.
Thank you, Chairman. Going to flexibility has been mentioned a couple of times. Now, we have got stop and go decision points where we have flexibility. Things do change, and when it comes to them points, we decide if we want to carry on, if we don't want to carry on. And I applaud our officers for taking what we said in the last meeting and putting these points in there. So we have got stop go points. Still, we still can change our mind. We still have got flexibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor FD. Councillor Wootton.
Chairman, thank you very much indeed. I mean, I think the discussion, the debate has been interesting so far, but I think really it's possibly, with your agreement, a time where it would be appropriate to move into the detail of the project, because there's some exciting stuff in there, and that includes information contained in the exempt appendices.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton.
So now you read from there.
I was about to do that. All right. Members, you've all had an opportunity to speak on the first part of the presentation for item 3. The report contains a number of detailed exempt appendices. In order for the meeting to be able to discuss any of the information set out in these documents, we will need to exclude the press and the public. I will now move a recommendation under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that it involves a likely disclosure of exempt information is defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act. Do I have a seconder?
Chairman, if I may, can I second that proposal?
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Members, voting will be done by roll call of names. When I call out your name, please indicate if you wish to have a recorded vote, and then whether you whether you are voting for or against the recommendation, or if you wish to abstain. Councillor Mrs. Belton.
No recorded vote. For.
Councillor Burton is not with us. Councillor Mrs. Butcher.
For no recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Connell.
No recorded vote, Chair, for the motion.
Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Councillor Mike Carter.
So, Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Yeah, yes, I thought you wanted to go to Mike first.
Yeah, I'll take you first, Mrs. Carter. Councillor Mrs. Carter.
Thank you, Chair. I am recording, please, a recorded vote, and I'm against.
Councillor Mr. Carter.
No recorded and for.
Motion. Yep. Myself, no recorded vote and for the motion. Councillor FD.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Eaves.
Recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Gooding.
Thank you, Chair. No recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Hazelwood.
Full recorded vote and for the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Hookway.
Recorded vote and abstain.
Councillor Hudson.
No recorded votes and for the motion.
Councillor Mrs. Lumley.
No recorded vote and for.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Recorded vote, abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. McPherson.
No recorded vote and for the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Merrick.
No recorded vote and for the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Milne.
No recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Newport.
Recorded vote and abstain.
Councillor Mrs. Paveling.
No recorded vote and for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. No and for.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. No and for.
Thank you. Councillor Mr. Shaw.
No and for.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
No recorded vote, for.
Thank you. Councillor Sperring.
No and for.
Thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Recorded vote and abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Steptoe.
No recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. No and for.
Thank you. Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chairman. No and for.
Councillor Mrs Weston.
No recorded vote and for, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Chairman, no recorded vote and for the motion.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. For recorded vote and abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. No recorded vote and for.
Thank you, members. There will be a recorded vote. There were 26 votes for the motion, 1 against and 5 abstentions. So that recommendation has been passed. We will now go, members, into private and confidential.
So we could wait.
Yeah. If you can wait a few minutes, I'll confirm when we're in private and confidential.